Hello, welcome back to Conversations with Marléne and Pascale. Today we're going to be talking about the power of connection, making deep connections with people and why that is important, how we can do it, and what we can do when we have setbacks in our connection with people. So before we start, let's introduce ourselves. I'm Marléne Rose Shaw, therapist, coach, and self-help author. I help couples and individual clients, and I love helping people step into their light, stop people pleasing, set great boundaries, and really live the life they deserve. Over to you, Pascale.
Wonderful. Hello, my name is Pascale Lane. I'm a therapeutic relationship and confidence coach, and I help women to have the relationships that they truly deserve with their partner, their loved ones, and mostly with themselves.
With themselves. That's the most important, isn't it?
Always the most important, Marléne. Always the most important.
And actually, that's going to come into our conversation today about connection. Let's start by thinking about connection with other people. Why do you think it's important that we connect deeply with others?
Because as human beings, we are innately built for connection. Like that interaction, that experience of being loved, loving others, and being part of a community, having all of those connections is what we're hardwired for.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we thrive off healthy connections, and we are depleted by unhealthy connections. And I can feel myself going off on a rabbit hole on this one already because it's something I feel so passionately about. But this is all the stuff that we learn growing up by the connections around us and how they interact with us and how they interact with each other. And all of that is so important for how we form our bonds later.
Mm. I think, I'm not a scientist by any means. Quantum physics fascinates me. The tiny bit of it I can grasp. But I am aware that in quantum physics, they talk about how it's not the particles that are important, it's the interaction between the particles.
Mm.
And I think that that's everywhere. This is everywhere. This interaction between things is everywhere in our universe. And I think because of that, there's something innately in us that makes us feel aligned with our true selves when we are in a state of connection, when there's us and another person and there's that interaction that's going on, And sometimes in our connections, we kind of have a transaction. It's like, well, I'll do this for you and you do that for me. Or we can even do it in conversations sometimes, like I say my bit and you say your bit. But it's a very different feeling from when we are actually in an interaction, in a relationship state of connection with somebody, because there's that sort of space in the middle, that overlap, that thing that is you and me here together. And that's, I think, where the magic happens.
Yeah, absolutely.
Feel it.
And that
feel it.
Yeah, you do feel it, and like you especially feel it. And when we're both relationship therapists, so we know the drill. You especially feel it when you are in a love connection, when you're in an intimate partnership. But you also feel it when you're with your best friend.
Mm-hmm.
Like I always feel it. If I'm very lucky. I've got some really, really good close friends, and just that real spark, that like real happy heart feeling of like, oh wow, this is so good. I wish we could just do this more often, just sit and chat and chew the fat and laugh and come up with ideas and come up with different things to do. And It just it's food for the soul.
Food for the soul.
Really is. It
Mm.
is. It is though, you know. It's just like it's so good. So
Mm.
good.
And actually, I think that we can have that deep connection feeling with everybody we meet. I think we can have it with our long-term partners and our long-term family and friends. We can have it in business and at work with colleagues, and I think we can also have it with those fleeting relationships, like when you go into a shop and you go to the till, you can have a connection with a cashier there. You know, you can just have a moment. I think you can even have a deeper connection with somebody you pass by on the street. Have you ever passed by somebody on the street and just smiled, and you both looked into each other's eyes, and it's just a fleeting something, but you know you've just connected with that person in a
Yeah.
really lovely way. It's a kind of, I see you, I see you.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And it's that, what's that lovely expression? Like I don't think agree with what you're saying. I don't think we can, or I don't think we need to have it with everybody, but I think we can have it with anybody. So what's that lovely expression? People come into your life for a reason, a season, or I can't remember what the last one is. Do you know that expression?
I vaguely know, I vaguely have a memory of what you're saying. Yes.
It might
Yeah.
come back to me. It might
Mhm.
come back to me in the next few minutes. But yeah, I mean, those little interactions, they make
Mhm.
all the difference when they kind of hit that chord.
Mhm. Mhm. There is something magical, isn't there, about forming, for actually intentionally forming connection with somebody, actually saying, I'm going to, because you could walk along the street and smile at somebody, and if they're in the right mood and they they smile back, it could change their day. It
Yeah,
could change their day because they might be low about something. You might have lifted them. They'll go home. Maybe they had a row with their wife or their husband or something. They go home, they're feeling better. They cheer up, and it's a ripple effect all the way down the line. But there is something. But if we want to actually form a connection with somebody, in a conversation, for example, there are different ways of doing. There's lots of ways of doing that. What would you say are ways that you can do that?
well, communication is such a huge topic, isn't it? I mean,
Mm.
communication is such a big thing. I mean, I suppose the easiest answer, maybe two really easy answers, are finding neutral, like, interest. Find
Mm.
something that you both actually connect on, and when you share that interest with somebody, then it's really easy to have a really good connection, because you've got something there. But there's also something as well, isn't there, about being interested in the other person, and really wanting to know more about that person and find out more about that person, and like not like feed that person, but ultimately, like, as human beings, like, the one thing that we all love talking about is ourselves, or the things that we find interesting to talk about. So when you've got two people that are interested in kind of like developing that and sharing that enthusiasm and experiences and passion, if you like, then it makes it a lot easier.
Mm. I think I think ultimately human beings want to be seen. They
Yeah,
want to be validated. They want somebody to say, I see you, like I was saying, even if you just glance at somebody in the street. But there's something about you matter. We all want to feel that we matter. And I think if we can get curious when we're talking to somebody, and not just say something very bland, but actually ask them a question about you know, why they're doing what they do, or why, you know, what's the why behind something, event in their life, or go even deeper and ask them how they feel about, you know, what lights you up about that? What do you find a drag about it? What do you find exciting about it? You know, those sorts of conversations automatically show that we're interested in a person and that they matter, and they're automatically going to get in a state of connection with us. And I think that, you know, if we can then sort of what I want to say is the brain loves to ask questions and get answers. The brain loves, you know, the brain is very curious and it loves answers to questions. So if we ask somebody a question, the brain is waiting for the answer. And so our whole body language is going to show that we're interested. We don't have to sort of act as if we really, you know, we don't have to do this sort of thing where, you know, well, I'll say that I'm interested in you because I'm trying to, you know, those forced conversations. But because we've asked somebody a question, we automatically want to know the answer, and our body language will show that automatically. So, and people pick up on things very subtly. They pick up on our body language. So that's another layer of being connected with somebody, because they know that you're really interested in them.
Yeah. And so if you take that then the other way, what do you think the effect is for those that don't feel that they have good connections?
Mm-hmm. You mean people who are on the receiving end of that, or?
Yeah, because I kind of think like I think like I understand the importance of connection, of relationships, partnerships, friendships. What about for those that don't feel that they have that?
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
people who are lonely, people who are isolated, either physically or emotionally.
Mm-hmm. I think that, you know, it's something that we need to be more aware of, that there is this thing called connection, and it is important in our lives, and to actually find a way to seek that. Whether it's, you know, not everybody wants to go out and be best friends with everybody and, you know, socializing and partying and having that sort of connection, but to have some sort of connection with other people is really important, because behind that, if we don't have that, we, you know, it can have quite an impact on our lives. People can become quite low. They can also be physically unwell. There's been a lot of studies about loneliness and the impact it has on people. So I think sometimes people just need to be a little aware that, in the same way that we, you know, we go and exercise and we look after our health, and we, you know, we do all these things that are, you know, people do meditation and journaling or whatever it is that they do that they find is helpful, that actually thinking about having good connections with people is important too, and actually to seek that out to the level that you're comfortable with.
And so, does it always have to be? My mind is going in so many different directions now because you just said something that just sparked something else in my brain. Do you think that? So I'm thinking about spirituality as well, actually, and our connection to source, God, universe, however you want to define it. But before we go down that rabbit hole, what about online connections? Do you think online connections work as well?
Personally, I do. I think people have their own experience of that, their own choice of that. I find when I'm connecting with somebody online, it's exactly the same for me. But that's because I'm focused on connection. I'm not thinking about whether the person's standing next to me or I'm talking to them through a screen. I'm focused on actually ways to connect with them. I do occasionally have people come to me who'd like to work with me as a client, and they say, oh no, I couldn't work on Zoom, I'd need to be in the room. We have an initial meeting on Zoom, and then they say, oh, that's fine, no problem at all, because the connection's there.
Yeah.
So it's about forming that connection, that essence and that energy of connection, regardless of the actual, proximity of the person. For me personally, but other people have their own ideas about that.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on
Yeah.
that?
No, I mean, so some of my, especially, we all went through COVID, but some of my greatest, especially like when I say business connections. I mean, well, I do all of my client work online, and I formed some amazing relationships with my clients and with my peers and with my mentors. Like even you and I, we didn't meet in real life for, I don't know, about 2 years, I think, maybe even longer, before we finally met in real life. So I personally am a huge advocate of online. But I mean, I think there's nothing, I'm a hugger.
Yes, there is that.
I'm big on physical touch, so I do love to be able to give people a big bear hug when I see them. So that there it is different, but different isn't better or worse. It's just different. If all of my, if talking for myself personally, if all of my interactions were limited to in person, my network would be a tiny fraction of what it is now.
And if all our interactions were limited to being online, we'd be missing out on that in real life thing. So I guess both is good.
Both is good. Yeah. But I think the knowing that the word tribe always keeps popping into my head. I suppose it doesn't have to be a tribe, but I mean, if we're talking about deeper relationships and meaningful relationships, then knowing your tribe is so important, and it is about that validity, and it is about being seen and being understood and being accepted and being enough, and all the things that you and I talk about all the time.
It's
so
what
important.
we all need, isn't it? It's what we all need, and that's why it's important if you don't have that in your life to go and look for it. And I say at the level that is comfortable for you, because some people are quite introverted and they're quite comfortable with one thing a week with a friend or something, or one sort of they might have their home life and their family, and they don't want a lot of social life. Some people want to go out and socialize all the time. Some people live on their own. So it's whatever works for you. But it's not about how much you see people or how often you see people. It's about making sure that you're getting the depth of connection in your relationships.
Yeah.
And if you don't know how to do that, go and look for like-minded people. Go and have when you're having conversations with people, get curious, ask them about themselves. Actively seek out that magic of connection in your life, because it will make a big difference.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can find them online, but you can meet them in real life.
Yeah,
you can find your communities. Like communities are everywhere, actually. Okay, fabulous. So if people want to connect with you, Marléne, what do they need to do?
Just DM me here on Facebook, or send a message on post a message through my link, through my website, through the contact form, and you can get me there. The link will be in the comments.
Absolutely. Brilliant. And same for me, if you want to connect with me, Facebook, call, send me a DM. I don't mind. I'm easy.
Just connect. Make the connection.
Just connect. Just do it. Fabulous. Okay, wonderful as always. Thank you, Marlene.
Okay, bye
Lovely
for
to
now.
connect with you.